What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Saturday, November 30th. Fresh off of Thanksgiving, we've got the Thanksgiving weekend tradition tonight. Survivor Series. I'm Clark Taylor. I'll be the host today. We're going to break down last night's Go Home SmackDown. Send you guys off to watch Survivor Series. Totally knowledgeable. Even if you missed SmackDown, you'll know what happened after this, and that's the good news. We've got the Old Guys crew and Old Guys Rule today on the show. I love that. So I'm going to announce them both really quick for you. First and foremost, we're going to toss this one out to Philadelphia, to our head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What is going on? Happy Saturday, Anthony.
I'm doing all right. Don't we always run things back whenever we're on here? But yeah, it's Survivor Series. It's always a special pay-per-view. It will always be a pay-per-view to me. I don't care if they call it PLE. And SmackDown was different parts were eventful. Other ones were like just moving things along. But we're going to get into it. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. I apologize on the late camera cut there. I was putting on some chapstick. It's a little dry out here in SoCal right now. But either way, up next, back once again on a Saturday. Stoked to have you as always. I believe geographically in Texas right this second, but you do never know. It's Ignacio. What's going on?
Hold on. My makeup's not ready. Hold on. Excited for tonight, man. The Thanksgiving tradition, Survivor Series, alive and well. I'm not as comfortable as I look. I'm laying down here. It's just I'm visiting my dad's in McAllen, Texas. So, yeah, man. You know what? I wish they would. I love war games, and we're going to talk about it. A little bit today and tomorrow. But I kind of wish at least they should have one match every Survivor Series that would be the traditional 5-on-5 match. I kind of miss those.
I do too. I actually think it'd be cool if every year we had some discussion earlier in the week about this, Ignacio, and I'm glad you brought that up. We might as well, before we get into our first segment, just really quickly. There's something about it got annoying when Hell in a Cell meant you're going to get all Hell in a Cell, not all, but you're guaranteed, right? Even Extreme Rules, it got a little annoying. The Survivor Series 5-on-5 and the Royal Rumble, I feel like avoided that. But there's something about the fact that it's 2 War Games matches no matter what now that is starting to give me the feeling the other way.
I mean, that's the thing. The rivalry should always dictate the match stipulation. Royal Rumble's a separate thing. That's a whole nother animal. But War Games, again, there needs to be a rivalry that dictates it. Now, granted, for the bloodline thing, okay, you can make that argument. I don't know if you can make that argument for the women's one, in all seriousness. It is just a random collection of 5-on-5. So it really didn't need necessarily a War Game stipulation.
That's where what I think would be cool is kind of what Ignacio suggested. Even what if you had one of each every year? You weren't sure whether it'd be the women's or the men's. It doesn't even perfectly rotate. It's whichever one seems more appropriate, because the elimination style in the 5-on-5 is something I love that I do feel in some ways is missing from War Games. Right?
And that's one of those things that elevated somebody like Randy Orton, because he's famous for being the sole survivor in multiple War Games matches. So I think you either do the match on Survivor Series, or if you're insisting on doing the 2 War Games matches, do maybe the Survivor Series rules on the SmackDown before Survivor Series, so you kind of sort of keep the tradition alive.
As like a preview, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'm for that for sure. Okay, let me read through some comments really quick though, and then we'll get into SmackDown from last night. Justin Flick said, "You guys are awesome over on Instagram," and man, do we appreciate that. Thank you. You're awesome. And then Bobby Petito with "Hello guys and happy Saturday, everyone." Friend of the show, Bobby. You're the man. Happy Saturday. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Let's talk about Bayley and War Games. Bayley's in. Obviously, we saw on Monday night providing a little bit of help for, I almost said her friend Bianca. That seems like a bit of a reach at this stage, but either way, Bayley will join War Games. Ding dong, hello. I'm stoked about it. That's not exactly the version of Bayley we have right now, but I always love having Bailey in a great match like this. I think the only thing about the War Games lineup on the women's side that is missing is Dakota Kai, just because she's been the MVP of so many of those matches. But if you're going to put anybody in this match, Bailey makes a lot of sense. What did you think about it, Anthony? And are you looking forward to tonight's women's War Game match? Do you have like an early pick? Because we didn't do any predictions either.
I did the predictions yesterday. I was on yesterday's show.
I forgot. Yesterday they did predictions. I meant we as in me.
No. Yeah, I know. I understand. No, but like looking at it, and this is kind of what I said yesterday. It is just a random collection, and like Ignacio said, like this probably would have fit the Survivor Series rules a little bit more than War Games would, because it is kind of a random collection, but. As much as the little bit of dysfunction on the heel side, I think there's more dysfunction on the babyface side because Bailey's had issues with pretty much everybody on her team. I am not entirely certain if Bianca or Naomi may have been the one to take out Jade. There's a number of factors. I think as a whole, I think the heel side is going to win. Bailey's kind of a smart choice for them to for the heels to throw the seeds of going, can you trust her? She's had issues with all of you. How who knows? Did she take out Jade? Like it's a smart from the psychology standpoint that you can kind of make that argument of going, who's to trust Bailey? So it is smart if you're trying to sow the seeds and giving you an out for the heel team to win. Or to branch a feud off of War Games, going, you didn't trust me, and then they feud. Like, there's a number of different avenues that can go with Bailey because she has so much history with pretty much everybody in there.
Absolutely. We got an awesome comment on Instagram. This one cracked me up. Nick the Nomads typed in, and he spelled it perfectly. Like the beginning of friend, Fri enemy, and then the laughing emoji. I'm like, yep, frenemy. That's exactly where I was at.
Yes,
on that one. Yeah, and Sean Ellis with this one too on YouTube with the other women in the War Games match don't trust Bailey, which might be their downfall. That's a great point. That's exactly kind of what you were breaking down there, Anthony. And I think oddly enough, it's somehow the best part of the entire War Games match. It's the best storyline going in, right? It's the most relevant one, and you have both champions on one side. You have the Money in the Bank winner on one side, but it's all about the fact that nobody can trust Bailey on the other.
That's kind of the funny thing, because I threw in yesterday during the show and I went, what's to stop Tiffany from cashing in on either women's champ during the match?
Okay, that is a great question. I'm going to go to Ignacio on this. Is she going to do it during the match? And if she does, though, does it make it 2 matches?
Yeah, that was my idea.
Yeah.
I brought that up. Remember, I brought that up that she should do it at the Rumble somehow. But anyway, the War Games match makes more, Anthony makes more sense. If it's during the War Games match, if she did it during the War Games match, well then, let's say she pins one of her partners. Let's say she pins Nia Jax. I mean, War Games isn't over.
Yeah, she just becomes the women's champ, but the match still goes on.
I would think so. Like if the champion was on the other side, it would make more sense that if Bianca was the champion and she pinned Bianca, right? Well, then the match would be over. She would win War Games and she would be the new champion, right?
No, the only thing is you can't get a pinfall or submission until all 10 people are in. So if she cashed in at the beginning, the match still goes on, even if she pins somebody on the opposite side.
I don't know. I think not that I don't think that this match is interesting, but that would definitely even make it even more interesting. But I definitely think this is one of those that doesn't merit the cage and then the atmosphere of War Games. I think this should have been like a 5-on-5. But you can add a progressive storyline where Bailey is the replacement, right, for Jade, and Bailey can take the pin or submission or whatever, and they can blame Bailey because she wasn't a part of the original crew or plan. Right, they can take that route. Well, she was the oddball out, but like Rhea, she doesn't care about winning War Games. She just cares about beating Liv Morgan. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect of it where Rhea can somehow get pinned or whatever, and it's not going to hurt her any because she's impervious to burial right now, I think. And she became overzealous because she was just obsessed with Liv Morgan, and she got a loss because she made a mistake or whatever. She got caught up in her own feelings or emotions. So there's definitely some different stories you can tell, but I just kind of don't. I kind of think that that's what's going to make it interesting, how creative they do with the finish, because this match definitely doesn't merit like the environment of War Games. They're going to have to do something to progress the story and make us want to watch what's going to happen after.
This would be something really interesting. You talk if hypothetically, let's say Tiffany does cash in during the match, right? So maybe you set that up by Nia Jax just absolutely gets ganged up on by the babyface side. It is easily prone. All of a sudden you have Tiffany Stratton cash in, pin Nia Jax. As we mentioned, the War Games match continues. When Nia comes to, she realizes she's no longer the champion and decimates Stratton. Absolutely decimates Stratton, and that's how the babyfaces pick up the win.
May I point this out? If she takes Nia out and pins her, there's no roof on that cage. She could climb out and take off. She does not have to stay in the match.
But I do think that that would be such a heel turn move if she was on the babyface side. That's the only thing with the running away there.
I'm just saying there is a way for her to get away.
To get out of there. That's very true. She can get out. She can hightail it out of there. But I think it would be kind of interesting if she's it's not even Tiffany that lays out Nia. She never turns on her. She's just Nia is so beat up and so easy. It's just straight cash in, pins her, match continues. And then Nia looks up and realizes maybe there's a graphic on the screen.
Oh, you mean
Tiffany
after
Stratton, new champion?
The ref hands her the belt, and what are you doing?
Right. Like there's a lot you could do with this. There's some fun stuff. And then we've got some other great comments. Sean Ellis saying, can championships be overturned in a War Games match? I think only if Tiffany cashes in. That's the only one, Sean, that scenario wise. Like there's no say Tiffany cashes it in, then somehow pins someone from the other team. I would imagine now the championship match continues still, though War Games is over, which would be the oddest of scenarios.
She would have to pin whatever champion that she cashes in on. So if she doesn't pin Liv or Nia, she does not get the belt.
And then Ibrahim Omar had the same sentiment as you, Anthony, about what if Tiffany cashes in and then leaves. That's possible too. And then Sean Ellis, I actually didn't even think of this idea. What if she faked her situation to turn her back on Bianca?
That's possible.
We've seen it. Crazier things have happened. This is definitely professional wrestling. But let's keep it rolling here to another topic. This one's pretty interesting. So we've got Cody Rhodes taking on Carmelo Hayes. He picks up the victory, but before that, we have Kevin Owens cutting a very interesting promo. Kevin's right on a lot of the things he said, and that's the interesting part. Yes, he's the bad guy here, but he was right. And I thought it was pretty darn fascinating when we had right at the end there, Melo go, yeah, Kevin is right, and back him up on that. Showed you a different side of Cody Rhodes in the match. This one is cool. I'm excited about the matchup between Cody and Kevin, obviously. But another thought I had. So KO is mad at Cody Rhodes. This all started over teaming with Randy Orton. Randy Orton. Over teaming with Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Who that he's closer friends with is doing the same thing tonight. Sami Zayn. Is this the first step in us getting another chapter of Sammy Kevin? Maybe at, I don't know, Mania? Talk to me about that, Anthony.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on these two topics. I loved the promo package for KO, reciting the history. It was selective with the history because he talks about how he got all these super kicks at the Rumble. But, failed to have mentioned that Survivor Series that Sammy is the one who turned on him in the War Games match a couple months prior. I did love the line, the American Nightmare is going to meet the Canadian Dream or something to that effect, which I thought was a nice call out. I had said on yesterday's show, and Ben was surprised by me saying this, I would actually have Kevin Owens beat Cody for the title at Saturday night's main event. You want shock value. Cody doesn't necessarily need the belt right now. And what you can do is he sides with the one person that has issues with Cody and Roman, and he himself has no issues with them. and that would be The Rock. The Rock also has issues with Triple H, his greatest rival. And obviously, KO's not a fan of Triple H these days because he thinks he's protecting Cody and Orton. So I think there's a lot of things you could set seeds in place. I would love to see either Orton against KO for the title at Mania, or KO against Sammy for the title and give Sammy his title finally. I would be fine with either one of those scenarios because I do think you're getting triple threat Rock, Roman, Cody. As far as the Cody Mello match, it's a tough position to be in because when you're going into it, Wrestling 101 is the champion's not going to lose to somebody that's not technically in contention. But, and you may disagree with me, Clark, I know a lot of people do, Cody is very good at when he wrestles people, whether he was the TNT champion in AEW or the WWE champion in WWE, he knows how to get more people over, and they're able to showcase themselves. And I felt like that was the case with the Mello match. And Mello, being the cocky young upstart, played it well, sold stuff well. And just as a whole, this is the second time we've seen them go one-on-one. Obviously, Mello's first one on the main roster was against him during the draft. And he learned from his mistakes, but he still hasn't beaten Cody, which I think Mello is in a better place going toe-to-toe with, quote-unquote, the WWE champion than he was prior to the match. Because if you're able to hang with the champ, the face of the company, that does stuff for your stock, win or lose. I think he's in a better place than he was before the match happened. It was a nice showcase match for him, but you knew Mello wasn't going to beat Cody. Mello's not in line for the title, so he's not going to beat the champion.
Yeah, Mello didn't feel like a number one contender, right? Like, I mean, I don't think KO is going to beat Cody for the title at any point, but
I won't be opposed to it.
I wouldn't be opposed to it either, but it feels more possible. Where I was going with that, right? Anthony, like it actually feels like there's a possibility there. What are your thoughts on this whole, Cody, KO, Mello situation, Ignacio as well?
Well, I think they wanted to show what Mello could do with the top talent like Cody, and I think they accomplished that. I think he's going to be a star. I just think kind of he came with up from NXT, and he didn't have his look and the bells and whistles that came with his persona. But I think that'll come later on with time. I kind of want them to move up Trick Williams so they can be a tag team. I think they'd have better success at the forefront, maybe at least starting off as a tag team, because I don't think Trick Williams is really that great a wrestler yet. I think he's a good personality and he's got charisma and all that stuff, but I think they can be like a great tag team together and kind of build from there. But I mean, not to say that Melo's not doing on his own. He's doing tremendous. I like him a lot. But it's just to show that what he could do, that he can hang with the top talent like Cody Rhodes and, Roman Reigns and those guys. You know what I mean? That he can eventually he can get to that. He has the potential to reach that kind of stardom. But I don't think that go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I agree on that. I think that this was the best of the losses on the main roster that Melo's taken thus far for his career.
I don't think that look, Kevin Owens is doing tremendous work. Like I said, we mentioned about his contract some time ago. I don't think he's going anywhere. But I do think that they're working up to like a match with Orton and KO at WrestleMania, which I think is going to be huge, and it's going to be like a gimmick match. It'll be like a street fight, Vegas street fight or whatever. It's not going to be a straight one-on-one, but I'm interested. I like the story so far that's playing out. I wouldn't be opposed to Kevin taking the title off of Cody if they want to make a big impact and make Saturday night's main event mean something again. I think that definitely do it, because I think they're going to have one. They've been talking about, I've been seeing online about having one in San Antonio in January.
Yeah. And
if so, I might be there. But I wouldn't be opposed to that either. But I think Cody's he's going to have a big main event at WrestleMania and a big challenger. And I don't know if it's going to be Roman, if it's going to be Rock, if it's going to be Orton or what have you. But I don't think he's losing the title. Even though he can lose the title and get it back at the Rumble, right? You know what I
Right.
mean?
In theory, yes.
That's the thing
They'd be
for
big
me.
deal. Yeah.
That's the thing for me that makes the most sense, Ignacio, is now that we've got, okay, we're in a situation where it's been a heck of a long time since we've had like a shock title change at the top, especially with the WWE title, unless you consider Cody finishing the story a shock, right? We've only seen so many title changes on that
Not
side.
really. Yeah.
So we haven't seen it in ages. Kevin Owens would apply, he would be a believable shock, which is great. But to your point about maybe get the title back on Cody at the Rumble, then you'd have to do that, I think. Because you got to have him carrying it into Mania. I would not mind a shock victory at Saturday night's main event. Tell that story. Cody wins it back at the Rumble, and then we head into Mania with a cleaner slate. But just for continuity, to say the least, I would be not opposed in the least to a Kevin Owens would be considered a mild upset victory, I think, in a main event match against Cody at Saturday night's main event. Perfect example. Let's talk really quickly, though, about our friends over at Progress, as we always do. If you haven't checked out Demand Progress Plus, what are you doing? We all know you're wrestling fans if you're watching us today. This is a great deal here. It's one of the best tape libraries out there. It's one of the best streaming services out there. Progress Wrestling is on fire right now. You're going to get every chapter ever, all your favorites, where they started, where they cut their teeth. You're going to get a current product. You're going to get Defy. You're going to get many more promotions. And better yet, you're going to get a discount. Use this code, Watch Progress 1. You're going to get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and many more. One more time, that code is Watch Progress 1, and that is 50% off your first month. Go check that out. No question, but let's keep it rolling here. Let's talk about werewolves of the Samoan variety. It's not Halloween. It's been a month since Halloween, technically, or 30 days. I don't do much math, at least until it's tax season, but that's neither here nor there. Jacob Fatu absolutely decimates main event Jey Uso. He made him look like co-main event Jey Uso, and I loved it. Fatu in singles action is so necessary. In the words of the great Jorge Masvidal, is super necessary. We needed it. It just shows so much strength for that new bloodline that has been missing at times. Even despite the wins, it felt like they, being the heel team that they are and the dominant heel team that they're presented as, all the victories that they've gotten over the OG bloodline still feel a little bit like, oh, that would be an upset, right? If we're gambling, like on paper, it's the underdog.
Yeah.
He didn't look like the underdog against Jey last night, and that's important. It shows legit. It's real life proof, right? That they are that dominant, that Jacob Fatu is that formidable, especially against somebody as accomplished and as important to the other side as Jey Uso. Ignacio, I'm going to go to you first, though. Your thoughts on this. Fatu in singles action absolutely decimates Jey Uso.
Well, I think what they need to do, like from now on, at least for a while, is that make Jacob Fatu's appearance like as a singles talent, like a wrestler, like make it special. Like don't do it every week on SmackDown. Do it, seldomly, once a month. Make him the attraction. That way we have to tune in to see him, and it's actually means something to tune in and see him. Kind of like how Andre was, right? Kind of like how they tried to do it, what they should have done with Big Show, what they tried to do with Omos, right? Just make him an attraction. That way you get used to, you see him every week. It's just going to be redundant, and fans might get a little tired or so forth. But if, at least for the beginning, if you put him in a singles match every once in a while, fans are going to be more in tune to tune in what he does because of the unpredictability of his character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not like to kind of I really don't know what's going to happen as far as the match is concerned, but let me get into this as far as like I'm not mad where they're going with Punk being the fifth guy. I like it. I love the story, and I love what we're going to talk about in a minute, the sit down and all that stuff. But man, you look at that side of the new bloodline, and you see Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu there, and like you're like, Jesus, man, what do they have? How are they going to win this match with those two guys on the other side? And I just think that, you know, if Heyman would have pointed at the entranceway and Brock Lesnar would have came out, the place would have blew. And imagine Brock Lesnar on the original Bloodline side, and then you got Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed on the other side. I mean, what a look that would have been, huh?
Unbelievable. Although I will say, my only issue with that is I just have a hard time believing a team that has both Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar can lose. Right?
Yeah.
It feels a little too much like the Golden State Warriors when they got Durant. Right? It's like Steph and Clay were likable. Now they got Durant. Like not.
Well, what I'm saying is like, so like back in the day, like you know, with the original War Games, like you know, they had the superpower Dusty and Nikita Koloff there, and the Warriors, the Road Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
The Horsemen didn't have anybody until they got Luger. They can match power for power with the Road Warriors and Nikita Koloff. Luger was that fill in the blank. Their weapon against those guys because he can match them for power. So on this end, man, you got Bronson Reed and Jacob Fatu, who are big, bulging, wild Samoan and Australian.
Yep.
Who's going to be able to tame them because they don't got anybody on the other side that can match them? But if they had Brock Lesnar, that's kind of believable. You know what I mean? Now Roman and the OG are going to have to use skill and experience and the wise man to overcome the two monsters.
Yeah, it's strategy for sure. And it, because of Punk being cerebral, to your point, that has to be the way that they go about this.
Yeah.
Why is it not letting me camera cut? There it is. We're back. Sorry about that.
You good?
Yep, we're good. Okay,
right.
We got some comments too, by the way. Jacob Fatu by himself is dangerous for the rest of the WWE male wrestlers on both shows, like Umaga. Okay, the point you made earlier, Ignacio, I just wanted to go back to about him being an attraction in a different way than when Teddy Long used to come out and do you have to go one-on-one with The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
But similar to that, where it's like, oh, shoot, so-and-so has to face Jacob Fatu this week.
Yeah.
Right. This time, like you said, once a month, you trot him out there just to destroy, just to seek and destroy.
Yep.
Jacob Fatu could be presented in the way of the legendary Haku. In that there's always the urban legend that everyone says when they get asked who's the legit toughest guy that you've ever been in the locker room with. 9 out of 10 of them always go Haku. Like, you know, Jake Roberts famously said, it was in a shoot interview, I'll never forget this. He says, if you were ever locked inside of a cage with Haku and we gave you a gun with one bullet in it, you think you could take him? Because I'd shoot myself in the head because I'd be afraid I'd graze him and piss him off.
That's the greatest lines.
That's
outstanding.
So, you know, just you present him as that monster that he destroys everybody. I don't know if there's anybody in that family that is more athletic and more dangerous looking than Jacob, like of the current crop.
Before we do go to our main event, because I know everyone's looking forward to talking about that segment, because I haven't wanted to stop talking about it since it happened. But before we do, I do have one more question for both of you guys.
Yes.
Is there any chance that dangerous, scary werewolf does that freaking moonsault off the cage tonight?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, if we see like 260 pounds,
well, he's done it.
Flipping.
I think he does it, but I don't know whether or not he would land flat on somebody or
on
a group of people.
I think it's probably on a group, but still.
Yeah.
That'd be an awesome sight.
I think
just
a guy that size just flying.
I mean, granted, he's already injured his shin and walked it off essentially. I think
he got that thing on he got that thing on the lip. It looked like he snapped his shin bone and he just like kind of shook it and walked.
And then he just destroyed like Roman like the next week in a boot. And you know, so that's the whole thing. Like they might be afraid if he went flat, if he would injure his knee or something, because that is 20 feet.
Well, and by the way, that's the funniest part is like he wore the boot for like what, 1 week?
Yeah, like a week or two, and that was it.
All I could picture is like he just went into the doctor and they're like, we really just need you to wear the boot for a couple more weeks, and he just didn't say a word and just looked at him, and they're like, you don't have to wear the boot if you don't want to wear the boot. Yeah, you know what? That never mind on the boot.
Yeah,
maybe I should put the boot on.
Yeah,
you don't need the boot.
Actually, I meant I was gonna wear a boot. I had a similar injury, and no, I wasn't even talking about you in the boot. I think that's all I can picture.
Totally.
And then Shad, one more comment here, said Jacob Fatu is gonna be one of the top guys in the company in a matter of a year. No doubt about that. I think he already is well on his way, right? I think. To that. And yeah, I have no problem with that at all. But let's talk about our main event. Technically not the main event, but I mean, this is what everyone's talking about. We've got to sit down. We've got a meeting. We've got Roman Reigns, the original tribal chief. We've got the wise man. We've got Paul Heyman, the swashbuckling hustler that he is. And we've got a fashionably late Phil Brooks. We've got a fashionably late CM Punk. It is what it is. I kind of respect it. Fashionably late makes sense. That way you don't have to wait for the rest of the party to show up. You just can get started. I respect it in that regard.
Chicago thing.
It must be a Chicago thing. But either way, actually that might be the Southern California in me. Like the big joke, no one's ever seen the first pitch of a Dodgers game because of traffic. But I don't even know if they have one. Like they just, as far as I know, Dodger games start in the third inning. But either way, and our graphic here says, what's the favor Heyman owes Punk? I don't know. This seems like Punk doing Heyman a favor to me in a lot of ways, right? Like, hey, yeah, I'll help you out. But knowing who Heyman is, he's the classic guy that's going to look at you and go like, okay, now I owe you one, and I'm a good guy to owe you one.
No, the way the segment worked, maybe you missed the end part of that, Clark. But
I might have missed just the tail end.
But the tail end was Punk saying, "You owe me one," and Roman goes, "Oh, I owe you one." He went, "No. Our wise man owes us one," and then walked out. So, and then Roman goes, "What's this favor? Let us get through War Games first, then we'll worry about it." Like, so, yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, yeah, that's the funny part to me is you get the question here, right? And like, but like it is logical that he owes him a favor because Punk's doing Heyman a favor.
Yes.
Is the favor Roman Reigns versus Punk? Because
I don't think so.
Because I'm just confused.
Here's the thing. Do you want me to go or
go right ahead?
Okay,
go first. Yeah, no, I was actually going to go Ignacio first, but
no. I don't think it's a match against Roman because Roman has no title. Punk doesn't care about beating Roman. Punk's back to win a title. He's made that clear. He's back to main event of WrestleMania. That's another thing that's on his bingo card list that he wasn't able to achieve previously. My guess, and this is strictly a guess, is that Heyman has to make himself available when Punk goes and challenges for the world title. The next time around, Heyman has to be in his corner. And if Punk wins, he has Heyman for the length of the title reign. That would be my guess. Either if it's a one-off or that. The segment itself, the term cinema gets thrown around a lot. It kind of works with these type of things. I even like the music. The music was subtle, but like it worked for the segment.
Yeah.
I liked Punk showing up late. It fits the Punk character. That's the Punk character where he doesn't care. He doesn't play by others' rules. He plays by his own. Roman still has that cockiness of going. He still acts like he's the tribal chief. And Heyman calls him my tribal chief, but he's not of that perch anymore. He still has the ego getting in the way. We saw it when they wanted to bring Sammy back. We saw it when Jimmy was like, let's bring Jay in. There's this reluctance. And, Heyman being Heyman, there's that subtle classic, you can't trust Heyman that, the people that used to work for him in ECW when that went under, know all too well. Plus, on screen, I mean, he's betrayed people before. He betrayed Brock for the Big Show. he never really chose sides between Brock and Roman. He always remained within that weird little space. He never really
He
picked
threw
the
the belts
side.
in the middle.
Yes, he never truly picked the side. And, Punk leaving the company when he did, he never truly broke up with Punk. Like, we know behind the scenes, they are very tight. And Heyman could have very well behind the scenes have encouraged either side to reach out to the other, going, I think he's interested, or I think they're interested. We're never probably going to know unless somebody says it, but there is a very tight bond there.
Yep.
And it kind of just works with this whole thing. And Punk makes sense with this group because he doesn't really have history with the Bloodline. He has history with Roman when Roman first came in. The Shield, they came in to protect Punk.
Yeah, he won a 3-on-1 handicap match against the Shield. I'll never forget that. It's one of
but they originally came in. They originally came in to help Punk maintain his 434-day world title reign against Ryback at that Survivor Series. So just as a whole, like, he's that independent third party that's tied to Heyman, but doesn't necessarily have the baggage of the Bloodline.
The other factor too, to your point, is if you look at Punk and compared to every other candidate, he wasn't here when Roman Reigns was the bad guy. He was in another company. So it's not like Seth Rollins where he's got the scar tissue from the Tribal Chief run, because he wasn't here. So that part adds up at least.
And even when he did come in, it was towards the tail end and he was on a separate brand. So he doesn't really have the direct ties to it.
Right. Okay. Ignacio, though, this is another thing that I thought of that might be interesting when it comes to this favor that Heyman owes. Seth Rollins and Punk have problems. I mentioned a Roman Reigns match, but to your point, title-wise, that doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. Does he have enough pull to get him a Cody Rhodes match? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. Does he want a Gunther match? Probably not. I don't know. But he does want Seth Rollins. What if the favor is that the OG Bloodline now is going to take out Seth Rollins for Punk on Heyman's behalf? That's not a horrible idea. Of all of the favors I could think of, that's something. It's a favor. Maybe not even Seth. Maybe something else. Yeah, but that causes even more of a rift with the Wise Man and the Bloodline, and there's more storytelling there. Maybe that's how you work back to a Punk and Roman type of a showdown. Maybe that's how you work to one of those classic, there's tension. Oh, guess what? They enter back-to-back in the Rumble. And so we get that showdown, big pop for finally they're going to get their hands on each other in the Rumble. Something like that to get to there. I wouldn't hate. I don't know. Ignacio, I'm going to go to you, though, on this one. What is this favor that Paul Heyman now owes CM Punk?
Well, they can have something. They probably have something figured out right now. But I mean, with it being WWE, I mean, they can always change their minds. I mean, we might not know till like a year from now. You know what I mean? Because they could have something set like, hey, well, let's do this for WrestleMania. And then they're like, well, yeah, let's work it out. Let's see how long we can prolong it. If everybody stays healthy and all this stuff, you know what I mean? But I mean, I think it's kind of has something to the effect that that kind of like what Anthony was talking about, that it might be to where, like, let's say they win War Games tonight, right? The OG Bloodline,
right?
And well, Roman's like, okay, well, I'm done with this. We are the only Bloodline now, and I am the Tribal Chief. So I'm coming back for my title, and I'm going to challenge Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble. Yes, or whoever the champion is at the Royal Rumble.
Right.
But then Punk says, hold on. I am now calling on the services of Paul Heyman to negotiate a title shot for me at the Royal Rumble. And Punk takes the title match at the Royal Rumble, whether it be against Cody or Gunther or whoever. And then that sets up a rift between Roman, Punk, and Heyman.
Yep.
And we can see that play out. Maybe it's something to that. Maybe it's something to where Roman wants to enter the Rumble, which I don't see Roman entering a Rumble, but then everybody's set for the Rumble, and then Roman's going to be in the Rumble, but then Punk says, no, Heyman's going to negotiate to get me in the Rumble. And that leaves Roman out. Something to that effect.
I like that a lot. And you actually inspired me. I got an idea too. I like both of those scenarios. This would be really interesting. Earlier you mentioned like this could drag out for a year, could drag out for a long time. It could be something that sort of is back burnered. Once we get Roman in that position, whether it's the Rumble, doesn't matter what time of year, even if this is somehow past Mania.
Yeah.
Somehow CM Punk, right? You just hit that cult of personality, inserts himself just close enough to the Roman title chase situation that Roman's uncomfortable. You do one of those backstage locker room segments where Roman's sitting with Heyman and he's watching the TV as Punk does this. And he turns to Paul and just says, do you still owe him that favor?
Yeah.
Do you still owe him that favor? Like, don't let this get messed up for me. Do you I know you do. You didn't do him that favor, did you?
Yeah.
And that's how you start the tension between those two. That's pretty gold.
Yeah.
What if the favor is that Heyman signed over Roman's contractual rematch because Roman has not gotten that from
Backroom
Cody?
deal. Oh, he just absolutely fleeces him on that.
Yeah.
That would be, except for then we've already, I will say, the new bloodline beat up Heyman enough. I don't need to necessarily see both bloodlines just destroy Paul. Poor guy bumped around enough.
I think that's Paul's number one and only bump that he was willing to take for the next, 20 years, 10 years.
It was the Garden. He main evented the Garden. From the kid that snuck into the Garden to take photographs at like 18, 19, whatever the hell he was, to main eventing the Garden. Worth the trade-off.
Absolutely. Okay, this could be literally anything, but I will say I do think that's going to bring us to the end of the show, my friends. We've got Survivor Series tonight. Everyone, please enjoy it. If you haven't already smashed like and subscribe, please do it. It helps us out a ton. Thank you so much for tuning in on behalf of me, Clark, Ignacio, Anthony, everybody here at WR. Have an awesome Saturday. Tomorrow we'll be back same time, same place. Very similar crew. That's going to be at noon Pacific, 3 o'clock over on the East Coast in the U.S. Of course, that's 8 in the UK and 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Have an awesome Saturday. Enjoy Survivor Series, and we will talk to everybody soon.